Hello everyone, it is Melinda and the other side of my Zoom is Ashley. We are quite busy and multitasking this season, so hence why you're gonna hear lots of Zoom recording. I don't even know if we recorded one in person. Maybe we did, I can't remember. But time is flying and life is busy, but that's all right. Today we're gonna be trying to cover chakras. It's something that's a vast, big topic, but what we will try to do is touch base on the main characteristics and to help you to understand them on a basic level. Because if you want to talk about chakras, it's such a big world. Trying to explain everything we wouldn't be able to do that on a short podcast. So hopefully this will pique your curiosity levels to research more. It was definitely something that opened my eyes when I started my 200 hours. It was something that was like, oh my God, this is a big world that I have never heard about, and kind of answered a lot of things I didn't understand about myself. So I found it very useful. So we will be trying to help you to understand this word a bit more. And yeah, are you ready, Ashley, for this?
I am. Yeah. So I think we're going to explain chakras in, like you said, like terms that people can grasp, because when I learned about them personally, I thought it was really like woo woo, and I'm like, oh, this is not for me. This is like too out there energies and wheels spinning in the body, and it was super weird. But then I started learning about it more, like after teacher trainings and in my own meditations. I'm like, okay, no, there's something to this. There's something powerful about this that I would like to explore a little bit more. And I've learned a lot about myself through working with chakras. And I think they're amazing. Yeah.
I think you're not alone with thinking it's a bit too woo-woo. There will be a lot of people who think that. And I remember when I talked about about chakras to my friends, they were like, oh my God, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, your third eye is closed. That's why you can't see all of this. But yeah, we have to go back to this.
I just told my partner this morning what we were recording our podcast about, and he like kind of rolled his eyes, and I'm like, I know it sounds like over the top.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, and there's some great like practical information that you can get from chakras and like put it to practice in meditations and stuff.
Yes, definitely.
A lot of healing work can be done by looking to the chakras.
Yeah, and I think it's like just like gunas, you were saying, like you think about how the sattvic and tamasic energy works around, and all the energy is working around in your daily life. I think with the chakras as well, sometimes I pick up more up on my chakras, or like where I'm reacting from, which energy center I'm reacting from. So for me, that's why it was useful. It's like, oh, I'm getting very fiery, I'm really snapping quickly, or like, oh, today I feel very sluggish and very heavy. It's like we will get there. So I think we should get started, because otherwise we're just talking about what we know. And
yeah, how do you want to start talking about the chakras?
I think if we are looking at the chakra system, we need to go back to kind of like basic level. So chakra system is like a pathway to reach higher levels of consciousness. So when we're looking at the chakras, what we try to do is work up on a ladder, almost like a ladder, from the base all the way to the top to reach higher levels of consciousness. And when you work through the chakra system, it starts kind of dense, like earthy, and gets lighter and lighter as you work your way up. So when we are kind of like trapped on a level, because our chakras are out of balance, so we want to talk about like how these chakras are out of balance and why they are out of balance. And we have to understand basic levels of energy, like what are energy about. So I think when we talk about chakras, we need to talk about prana, the energy, the life force, because we have our physical body that consists of like flesh, bones, and blood, and we have an energetic body as well that consists of energy channels, and also the prana, the energy flows through them. So if you think about how I like to think about it, is literally the same thing as our cardiovascular system. We have all these channels, like thousands of them, but there are three main ones we're going to talk about today. It is our Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. So Ida is our on the left hand side, and this is our introverted yin and feminine lunar energy. And then we have the other side, which is Pingala, which is on the right hand side, and that's the yang, the masculine, the solar, like the sun energy. And they are going through the body, going from left to right, and meet in the middle. And they create the chakra system. They create the kind of the points where they meet. That's where the chakras are located. They all start from the base of our spine, going upwards, the same as Shushumna. Shushumna is where the Kundalini energy flows. So what is energy? Energy, prana is something that moves us through our life. It's something that our conscious and unconscious bodily functions are moving through it. So we have to think about like breathing, and our whole body is like really working through energy. And now we also project energy out in the world. What do you think about like prana? How would you explain prana to people?
Prana, life force. It's the sense of flow and communication between all the cells in your body.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I come from a science background, so I have to like rationalize it a little bit. I envision it as you're in an optimal state of health when all of your cells are communicating properly in your body, and there's areas that are in not great health where there's no flow, there's no communication.
Mm-hmm.
So like say an injury or muscle tension or a blocked artery or a broken bone, or like a tumor, or some kind of injury to a gland that produces hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that go through the body to send messages elsewhere. So if those links of communication are impaired somehow, then there's less communication through the body, less flow. And you said the cardiovascular system, but I think it's the nervous system, because the cardiovascular is the blood. I mean, the hormones are little messengers that go through the blood, but I think about prana more as the nervous system, where it's like electrical firings and communication through nerves and neurotransmitters, which are the molecules that pass through the nervous system.
Yeah.
And then it just makes you feel alive and connected and have a sense of self. Consciousness really is related to prana. So as prana flows more freely, so does your, I guess, sense of self and consciousness, if that makes sense. I have a picture, for the people who are watching on YouTube, of what you were describing. So these are the chakras, the circles. And then from the base, they go back and forth. So that's Ida and Pingala Nadi, the back and forth, left to right. And then Sushumna Nadi is the central channel that you can equate to as your spinal cord that goes up into your brain. So it's the central communication channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's very useful, like seeing pictures of how about this energetic body and the chakras. It makes a little bit more sense, or because I agree that when someone hasn't been doing any yoga or learning about chakras, it's a bit far-fetched, and it's like, what the hell is happening? Talking about the cardiovascular system and the nervous system, for me, why it's like it's a very good point. It's more like nervous system, but for me, it's just like thinking about how the blood flows around the body. That's how I imagine. But I don't have a science background, so I'm much more simple.
Yeah, a lot of it is about imagination. Like, how do you picture this? Because you can be as practical as you want in yoga, but you do have to have some sense of like visualization and openness to things that we don't quite understand. And like as human beings, even as like scientists, we don't know everything about the body. Like far from it. We don't know what consciousness is, and describing these things, energy that flows through you, it takes a bit of imagination.
Yes.
And like also, openness and curiosity, which are what qualities that yoga brings to you in your life.
Yes, you definitely have to have an open mind for this analogies, but also it's good that everyone connects these knowledge to different analogies or pictures and imagination. So you have to find yours, what works for you, and you understand it by. But yes, I lost what I wanted to say.
Well, starting from like the chakras, there's different philosophies that have different amounts of chakras, but in yoga philosophy there is 7 chakras. And I guess we can start going through them a little bit. So there's 7, and like that picture I just showed, even if you're listening on the podcast, there's 7 circles that go through the body. The first one's at the base, the perineum. The second one's at the just below the navel. The third one's just above the navel. The fourth one's at the heart. 5th at the throat. 6th at the center of the forehead, and the 7th is at the top of the head. So they move up the spine, and the Ida and Pingala cross over between them, zigzagging through the spine.
Yes.
So, and they each have a different color too. They each have different qualities that you feel when they're in balance or out of balance. And because they're depicted as wheels spinning, the wheel can be spinning slow, so you can have a low chakra, or it can be spinning too fast, so you can have your chakra too high too. Does that make sense? This is really like, again, woo-woo concepts, a lot of visualization involved.
Definitely. I think also like some people like to think about those spinnings and some people don't. How I like to think about, we have a physical body and we have an energetic body. And then if you think about energy, you can think about just like, when you meet someone and you feel such good energy about them and you feel like we connected straight away, and you meet someone who's like, oh, I don't like that person, but I have no idea why. So energy is that you feel it, but you can't always kind of explain it why, or you can't rationalize it, as you said. So if we start working through the chakras, we're going to start on the bottom, which is our Muladhara chakra. So Mula means root, and Dara means like support or base. So it's like our root chakra. And if you think about our chakra system, it starts from kind of a dense chakra, working your way up, getting lighter and lighter, getting a little bit more like you're touching out of the universe rather than just being in the physical body. So our first chakra is our most dense chakra in a way. It's the chakra all about feeling supported or feeling safe on earth, feeling that you're secure, you have everything provided for. It's like Mother Earth. It's a chakra that's located on the base of the spine, if we want to think about locations, because some people really relate to where does it located in the body.
The perineum.
Perineum, yes.
Yeah, which is like between your reproductive organs at the base of your body.
Yeah. So some people like to meditate and trying to focus on one physical body point. Some people like to focus on the color that the chakra represents, which is the color of red for Muladhara. Some people like to think about their Bija mantra, so they like to repeat a mantra when they think about your Muladhara chakra, which is the lung, and it's the element of earth. Mm-hmm. For me, I like to think about the element of earth, and what's connected to earth is like the nurturing sense of earth and feeling secure. And if you think about your Muladhara chakra, you have to think about like you feel grounded, you feel rooted, you feel safe. And that's all about that chakra.
Yeah.
If you think about how the chakra is balanced, you feel like Mother Earth. You feel like you take care of your needs. You have a good sense of identity. You are feeling secure. You trust that you have enough, so you don't feel like you have to hoard things. But for example, if the chakra is overworking, you're almost like a consumer. You like to collect things. You have a fear of not having enough. You feel excessive. You feel like workaholic. You have to do more and more and more because you feel like you never have enough. Or you have an underworking chakra, which is when it's almost like the chakra is closed or low. You feel like a victim because you feel like you have low self-esteem. You blame others for your problems. You're paralyzed by fear, and you're quite needy. So you feel like you need to get what you need from others, and you don't feel like you can support yourself. So if you think about the first chakra, it's all about you are enough to provide for yourself. You have everything. You have the right to walk on this earth. You feel grounded. I think in yoga we do quite a lot of like grounding. You want to feel strong and you feel present in your practice. So for me, Muladhara chakra is all about that. What's for you, Ashley?
Well, I think you covered most of it. Yeah. Related to the gunas, it's more the tamas guna. So like when it's out of sync, you have a lower energy. You're not sure of yourself. Yeah. Just about knowing who you are. And if any of these qualities that we're talking about resonate with you, then you can work with this chakra by meditating on it. You can sit, visualize the color red, and repeat the mantra Lam, because when you're saying Lam and directing the vibration of that word down to your root chakra, it helps to bring it into balance. And you can do this for all the chakras. There's a specific sound that goes to that area of your body and makes that energy more balanced and a color that is associated with it. Yeah. It's quite profound.
It is. And if you're not a person who likes to meditate or thinking about bija sounds or colors or body parts, I like to kind of like reflect or kind of think back. So I would ask the questions of myself, like, do I feel safe? Do I have everything I need? Do I trust myself and the universe to have everything? So you can ask questions that you can answer yourself, or you can just repeat that I'm grounded, I'm safe, I'm rooted, trying to, the more you say it, you kind of convince yourself that you are safe, you're grounded, you can relax, and that's how you can work on balancing a chakra.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
I think that's a good base start to people to think about, so we can move our next up. Do you want to go next up?
Yeah, the second one is Swadhisthana, and it is located at more the sacrum area. So again, underneath the navel and towards the lower back. What's the color here? Orange.
Orange, yeah.
Orange, and the sound is Vam. So if you repeat Vam, you can direct it towards underneath your navel, and you can feel it there. It is also associated with tamas guna when it's out of balance, and maybe you wanted to go more into the in balance and out of balance qualities.
Yes. So the Swadhisthana, second chakra, is more about creativity and your sensuality, sexuality as well. So it's a watery element. It's a water element chakra. So it's more about how in touch you are with your feelings, how much you allow yourself to be creative and to experience and live through your sexuality and sensuality as well. So this covers quite a lot. So first chakra is more like being safe, rooted and confident within yourself, and second chakra is a little bit more like opening up to others in a way. So it's like how you relate to others.
Yeah.
Because first chakra is more like relating to yourself and with yourself, because you always have to be happy within yourself before you can connect with others, we kind of believe. And so second chakra is already like the connection to others, and then it's all about like also how you express your feelings. So if you think about archetypes of this chakra, if the chakra is balanced, you feel love for all being. You just projecting love and sharing love, and you're trying to create and share in abundance, or whether it's love, whether it's anything else. So it's more about sharing. If it's overworking, you're kind of like a hedonist, someone who's self-obsessed, who puts themselves first, it's more about that. If you're feeling a little bit low in this chakra, you're more like a martyr. You forsake your own happiness for others. You can't accept pleasure. So you just kind of like denying all these things from yourself.
And there's a lot of guilt associated.
That's a good point. So there are shadows of the chakras. So if something is balanced, you feel like Mother Earth in first. If it's unbalanced on Earth chakra, the first chakra, then it's more like fear. You live in fear. In second chakra, if you balance, you share love and you feel loved. And if it's unbalanced, you feel the guilt. Guilt is quite a heavy energy as well.
And you know what's interesting is, like, for the more practical science people out there, is that each of these chakras are connected to glands for communication that goes through the body. So the first chakra, grounding, is and safety, survival, is connected to adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are where your adrenaline and cortisol come from. So literally to do with your stress response, your safety response, running away from fear. And when they're overworked, you can be like stressed out all the time, or completely burnt out and exhausted. And the second chakra is to do with your gonads, so your reproductive hormones and organs. It's just it's very interesting.
That's the thing, is you can connect so many different ideas or analogies or like science to it. It's just what you want to focus on. Like, for example, I never remember the adrenal glands or any of this connection, because for me it doesn't say much. But it's interesting. That's what pops out for you. Like, oh yeah, I understand that. So it's, again, we're going back to that. Figure out what you understand and what you feel from it.
Yeah. Well, like with my nutrition too, I just like to think about, I work a lot with people who have stress and anxiety, and you bring the nutrition into it, but then also I can bring this extra layer into it with the yoga, and like maybe you can do some meditations on the root chakra to bring your adrenal glands back into balance and your sense of safety and grounding.
Yeah. It's using all this little knowledge to put together something holistic and a whole thing for you to support your.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely. So yes, the second chakra is really about emotions and creativity. Also, I like to think, because I teach mandala and because of the elements, we connect the practices to these chakras. So the earth element is feeling grounded and moving through the mat, trying to ground yourself, doing lots of forward fold. And then when you move into water, we're trying to be creative and fluid. So on the mat, we're trying to be light and move freely, and trying to express ourselves through movement. So for water, for me, is just thinking about water, just flow freely. And in your chakra as well, just like share freely your emotions and what you have. Yeah. All right. Next up is Manipura. We're going up the third chakra, which is the chakra of fire. This is what I usually have problems with if I have to think about it. So fire is it's around the stomach area and the upper abdomen. The chakra is located there.
Solar plexus.
Solar plexus, yes. Solar plexus. So solar plexus is, in English, it's also a position. It's already. So is it a body part? Solar plexus.
It's below the sternum and like just between your ribs. If you kind of press into that area, like where the diaphragm is, you'll feel an area where it's like kind of harder, and like if you push too hard, you feel almost winded.
Yeah.
That's like around where the solar plexus is. It's just inside a little bit more.
Because the first time I heard about solar plexus is through the chakras, and I was like, "Is this? Oh, so people use it as like a normal actual place?" Okay.
I don't know.
Well, this chakra is all about like the source of personal power. So Manipura is all about coming into your power and feeling confident within yourself. It's like about self-esteem, this kind of like warrior energy that you can go out there and get things. It has the power of transformation. So I think about the fire chakra or fiery people, if I go back to mandala, is the people the go-getters, who are not afraid to take the next step, who are just jumping headfirst into things. Or like fiery people are the people who they snap quite quickly, like kind of like when you touch the fire a little and you burn quickly. So I think about this is quite an active chakra, or how you kind of represent yourself out to the world. So if the chakra is balanced, you are like a warrior. You are like non-dominating but confident. You're open to change. You are strong-willed. You have a good self-esteem, and you trust yourself. Like, oh, I can do that. Or you're not thinking. You're not questioning yourself. So it's like a healthy ego in a way. So I think this chakra is all about your healthy ego, that you feel confident. But if the chakra is underworking, that you feel like almost like a servant, like you're obedient, you seek approval, you kind of passive aggressive because you don't feel confident within yourself. So you're like passive aggressive towards people. And if the chakra is overworking, you kind of like a dictator. You're controlling. You have OCD. You don't like how people do things around you. It has to be your way. You're kind of judgmental and easily angered. So you're like, when someone does something small and you burst straight away. So I think fire is that this chakra is the easiest to understand if it's overworking or underworking in people, because it's very powerful and very visible in a way. Not like, oh, you're not shying away to hide it. If someone is overworking or underworking in fire, you will definitely feel it or see it. You wanna, because I was like, I feel like I'm talking all.
Yeah, no, you're giving good explanations. I like it. It has to do with shame too when it's underworking.
Yeah.
And also the adrenals come in here when it's fire. You can go into, yeah, again, being too fiery, set off, or like high blood pressure, or chronic fatigue syndrome, where it's like underworking and you don't have enough energy. Also your pancreas, which produces like your digestive enzymes and your insulin, comes into play here. So it's associated with the digestive system. Digestive troubles can be worked on with the third chakra. And the color, I don't know if we said the color, it's yellow, and the sound is ram. So that goes right to your solar plexus when you say that.
Yeah.
And it's more associated with the guna tamas, or sorry, not tamas, rajas. So like rajas is like fire when it's out of balance.
Yeah, that's why I always think about rockets when we get to all this. Also, if you think about the chakra, it's the affirmations or things you kind of want to meditate on. Is like, I am strong, I trust my instincts, I choose my battles wisely. Because also, if you're a fiery person, they are the ones who jump into like fights. So you want to be someone who choose, like, do I need to step into this conversation? No, I don't agree with it, but I have to step out of it because there's no point to just feed the fire. So it's about like being wise about, even if you're right, sometimes you have to step back. So this chakra is, again, such a big topic of trying to be confident and share your truths, but also when you have to step back or step away from things. Mm-hmm. But yes, so I think that this is much more like a yang or masculine energy coming in to our chakra system, because the first two is more like a yin energy. Earth is more yin, calm, grounding, and nourishing. Water, again, it's nourishing and flowing and light. And then we're getting fire is a bit more get-goer, yang, strong, masculine energy. Is there anything else you would meditate on? We said the sounds.
Not for that one. I think we covered that. Let's go on to the fourth one. Anahata. So it's the heart chakra, and it's more associated with the element air, and your self-acceptance when it's out of balance, or the shadows, grief. From my perspective, it's associated with the thymus gland. So that's coming up into your throat, has to do with your lungs, your heart, your circulatory system. The sound is yam, and the color is green when you're meditating on it. Mm. And the gunas are rajas and sattva. Mm. Yeah. So personally, I always felt like I had more issues with self-acceptance and grief, because I've talked about this loads. I've gone through a lot of grief in my life, and I felt like my anahata chakra was out of balance, like almost like not spinning at all. So I've done a lot of work, and this is where my personal experience of chakras has come into me totally believing in them and thinking that they're amazing, is me meditating on the anahata heart chakra to overcome my grief and move through it and accept it and work on accepting myself. Because when you don't accept yourself and you're stuck in grief, you are just looking for things like outside of yourself for self-acceptance. And you're never going to find that outside of yourself, your identity, your social identity. You're never going to find peace. You're never going to find love outside of yourself until you've worked on self-acceptance, dealing with grief, re-loving yourself. And then from that point, you can go out and find love outwardly too, because I rejected love through the grief process a lot, like in my personal relationships, not just with like romantic love relationships, but friendships, like my family too. I was just so alone in the grief and stuck there, and this helped me move through that.
And this is a very good example of like how people can understand more or like start to believe in them, because you experience it and then you work through it, and that's when you like, okay, there's maybe something to it. And grief is such a heavy, again, I keep saying like they're all heavy energies, but yeah, it's something that carries, you learn to live with grief as well. You have it, it's not like eradicated from your body, you just have, you learn to live with it in a way. And anahata, I always think people experience it through their practice. If I don't know if you have experienced this as a teacher, that you teach a class and you do also back bends in the end, or you do this like nice release, and then in shavasana or right after the back bends, someone cries or like quietly cries for themselves. And it's, people came up to me in the end of the class like, I don't know what happened, just I couldn't stop myself crying. It's just they almost said like, I felt like almost like my heart cracked open. And I know it's very like again, sounds woo woo, but sometimes you just work through a lot of things, and there's a point in your practice that you physically feel a bit relieved and you can't stop yourself from this emotional outburst. And I always say to people, like, because they feel ashamed, they're like, oh, I was crying. I was like, no, that's excellent. Just let it go, be with it, and stay with it. And you don't have to explain it why it happened. If you can explain it to yourself in your meditation or any time, please do. But also, like, just you need to release that emotion. And I think that's quite wonderful to see that when you're teaching, that the people just release something that didn't serve them anymore. So I find with anahata, the practice really comes into practice, like opening your heart. And I've never been teaching like open your heart to the world, because this is not my kind of style of teaching, but I understand of like opening your heart center. Because if you feel a bit, if your chakra is underworking, you see people like crossing their arms a lot or trying to protect their heart center, they're hunching forward. Or even like in shavasana, you feel like you have to put your hand on your chest or your belly. Because when you position your hands in your shavasana, it does a lot of where you feel vulnerable with which chakra, and usually put it on their heart center or their solar plexus or much lower. So I always find it interesting where people position their hands when they put their hands. But I'm going far off. If anahata is one of the chakras that are almost like a bridge between the more dense chakras, which is like earth, water, fire, air. So we're getting into air, getting so much lighter that soon we can't really kind of like touch or connect to these chakras. So anahata is almost like a bridge between our body, mind, and emotions going up to our spirit. So you're working your way up. And if the chakra is balanced, you're almost like the lover. Because it's at the heart center, it's all about love and how you express love to others. So you have unconditional love and acceptance to everyone. You give freedom to everyone to be themselves, to love whoever they want to love and share this love. If this chakra is overworking, you kind of like you're an actor, you're like possessive, you have lots of shallow love to people, you have affairs, or you have like dramatic emotions. So you want to be the person who's always in the center of attention because, oh my God, this is what happened in my love relationship, and oh, my heart's been broken again. So people who have all working on a hatha, they experience too much emotions and they share it too much. And people who have underworking or closed chakras, they are like a timid child. They are like shy, they're defensive, they feel like they don't deserve love. It's just someone who just wants to kind of hide away from emotions and they don't feel like they deserve it. Yeah. So if you want to work on kind of balancing this chakra out, you have to think about that I am loved, like I am open to love, or I am compassionate. And then working through your grief, as Ashley said earlier, it's something you need to work on to balance this chakra out.
Yeah, and like you said, like the physical practice does a lot for opening up Anahata chakra with back bends, especially like opening up your chest, opening up your heart. Like so many people sit at desks, their shoulders get closed over, and there's less openness physically in their posture and less open energetically in the heart. And I always find it fascinating, like working with bodies and energies for so long, is the people who are naturally like really open-hearted and kind and compassionate. I'm not naturally like that. I've had to work through the practice to create that. You look at their physical posture and they're just naturally open and their shoulders are back. I'm like, that's so interesting that the posture that you present to the world has so much with that to do with the energy that you naturally have or that you have worked for within your practice. Like for me, keeping it open is really working on strengthening my middle back to lift the ribs and keep the shoulders open and have a nice straight open posture. When I'm working at my desk, it gets closed off and I feel the negativity start to come in. And it's quite interesting to feel the big differences energetically, mentally, based on your physical posture.
It's so true, because I've always been a person who I've always been a hunchback because I was quite tall. I wanted to hide away. I didn't feel like I should be seen. And then through my practice, obviously, I got stronger, but also I got more confident and more stuff. Like I was okay. I deserve to be here. I deserve to open up. So my posture changed. But now, being a mum, I noticed that my shoulders are dropping down again. And I always thought that because I give so much love out to my child, and then now sometimes I'm like question like, oh, but doesn't everyone loves me the same? Like, does my partner say goodbye to me at the same time or ask me how? Like, because obviously your partner will constantly be like, oh, how is the child? And then they're like, oh, hi, hello, nice to see you. And then I noticed that how I feel like, oh, I'm not as important as I was, and I know I now understand, but my body is closing off, so I'm reworking on this again. This is like very present of I deserve to be loved and I am loved, but it's just like I need to, it's all coming from me. It's not, I'm not getting love, it's just all coming from me. So this is something I'm working on. So this can change, things can come out of balance, as we said, with practice. Your meditation doesn't always, so you constantly have to work on yourself and just notice if something changes, and then you understand, oh, I need to work on a chakra, or I need to work on the gunas, or I need to work on or physical strength. So that's why all your knowledge will be important throughout life.
Yeah, they're constant flux, but it is interesting when you're aware of them and then come back, because like in the last year, I was so busy and going through a lot of change that I didn't feel grounded, or like there's a lot of fear and safety issues coming up for me because there's just too much change going on, and I hadn't been practicing yoga as much, so I wasn't finding that stability and grounding within my practice. And then also coming back to my practice, I noticed my balancing postures were really wobbly because I wasn't feeling grounded, like physically grounded with my feet. and balanced. And I was like, this is so interesting. And so coming back to working on my balancing postures, not just exclusively, but really focusing on finding that grounding, has helped me to feel more grounded emotionally and safe, and let go of whatever fear of change was coming up for me. It's so interesting.
The energetic translates into the physical body, and that's why, like, we talk about the fascia. It remembers, like, even if you don't remember, your body remembers. Even if you don't feel, you don't know what's happening, your body shows it that something is wrong. I think it's amazing. It's just learning to understand these signs and see these signs, and then what to do with them, or what to do about them.
Yeah.
Well, then we're getting up to the next chakra, which is our throat chakra, our Vishuddhi. So we were we were coming up from earth, water, fire, air, and now we are at ether. So it's something that from these chakras on, it's something that you can't really touch or kind of like feel, but it's around you. This is the chakra about how you express yourself. It's like expressing yourself freely. So if your chakra is balanced, you are like a communicator. You honest, you're truthful, you think before you speak, so you know what you're going to be talking about, but you speak your truths. You have no guilt about what you say. So it's a freedom of speech in a way. If the chakra is overworking, you're arrogant, you kind of like prone to exaggeration when you're like, oh, I've done this and I've done it so well, I did it so much, but so they're kind of the people who talk themselves up more than they are. And for some reason, I had this note about this. It's like someone who walks a lot because they don't like to talk too much. They just like walking things off all the time for some reason. So if the chakra is underworking, it's almost like a quiet child who doesn't want to speak, who's incapable of expressing their truths with their voice, not just how. Then they kind of like emotionally repressed. They don't think they can express themselves freely, whether it's their thoughts, whether it's their feelings. They feel like they can't say anything. I always think of what we were talking about my teacher training is people have problems in their throat chakra. They like to hide it. So people who wear turtlenecks a lot or have scarves, wearing scarves. And they're people who don't like to speak their truth. They don't like to be heard, or they're afraid to be heard. And then one of my friends was like, I'm always wearing a scarf and I'm always afraid to tell my opinion. So like, oh, shoot. So it's interesting of how this chakra is literally about expressing your truth and talking your truths. If we're thinking about colors, if you want, you can go ahead and say the colors and vision mantras, Ashley.
Yeah, so the Vishuddhi throat fifth chakra is associated with blue, and the sound is hum. So like and you can hum right into your throat. It's associated with the thyroid and parathyroid gland, so that has to do with your metabolism and how like fast or slow your body kind of operates, and your mind, and I guess your voice too. And they are actually in the throat. So you can see when people have a underactive thyroid, they have like what's called a goiter, like a big bump in their throat. And yeah, what we were saying is when it's out of balance and running, or the shadow is telling lies, and
being anxious about that, because it's like you said so many lies. Sometimes you don't know what's the things you said.
So it makes you like carrying more with you. You know, I have an interesting story about the Vishuddhi chakra that my friend in Canada, like, I had no clue he did meditation or anything, and he doesn't practice yoga or anything, but he was telling me his whole life he had a really bad stutter, and then a voice therapist got him to do meditations and mantra repetition on the throat chakra, and his stutter went away and he never came back. Like this happened when he was like 23 or something, and like had this really bad stutter up till that age, and then after working with the throat chakra, gone. I'm like, that is fascinating. And he's just like, knew that I was a yoga teacher, like never went to a yoga class, but has done this like chakra meditation to cure an issue that he was dealing with his whole life.
It's quite amazing. I think the thing is, some people just unconscious of these things, but then someone who understands it helps you to heal it. And then he took it seriously, sounds like it, because his stutter was gone. And now you saying this, it makes me feel like I need to work on my throat chakra, because I speak so fast. And when I listen back our podcast, I always sound like I want to make sure that I don't miss out on say something. So I say it so fast in the beginning, sometimes I don't even understand myself. Like, oh my God, what did I just say? So it's definitely something I just think that, like, I think I need to work on my throat chakra as well. So it's, you learn, and it took me a couple of years to notice this. I definitely worked on it when I'm teaching, but not like in everyday life. And that's why I kind of decided to do this podcast with you, because I'm always afraid to voice my opinion, because I'm like, oh, people are going to judge, people are going to say something. That's why I don't post on Instagram, because people are going to have their opinion about things, and I can't take that. So I'm just afraid to let my voice heard. But how I'm trying to work on this is putting this podcast out. Even sometimes people can't understand me because I talk fast and anxious. There you go. Anxious, the throat chakra. So again,
well, I mean,
you learn.
It has to do with creativity and creative identity and communication. So yeah, forcing ourselves to do this podcast is like, I guess, working on our throat chakra.
100%.
And like, because I've had to do a lot of that self-work too. It's like, oh, I have nothing to say. What I have to say is not important or valid. Like somebody else's opinion is more valid. It's like, no, you actually, once you start working on this, things like, I wasn't doing like a meditation on my throat chakra. I was just like working on my blockages with, well, why don't I have a voice? Like, why can't I say what I want to? Like, I know a lot. Like, I've been in school since I was however many years old. I have how many like degrees and diplomas. Like, I do know things. I know a lot of things. And I've been working my whole life in science, health, wellness. I know about these topics. It's okay for me to talk about them. I do have an authority. Yep. Don't just shy back. Like, these are things that you want to share. And yeah, definitely expressing myself on Instagram, writing and then sharing, and like, I don't really care what people say back to me because my experience is real. And if I'm sharing facts, I try to like validate them with research. And then, this podcast, we talk about a lot of concepts and relating them back to our personal lives. So of course we have authority to talk about that, our personal experiences in our lives.
Yeah.
And people resonate with them.
Yeah, definitely. In a way, also, that's why we ask people to come on our podcast to talk about some topics that we are not experts on, or we don't know enough, or they can share their own truths. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so then in that respect, we're not being liars. Working with our throat chakra, we're like, okay, we're gonna share what we honestly know. We're not gonna tell like falsehoods or claim things that we don't know.
Definitely.
Hopefully, yeah. Fingers crossed we haven't done so.
I know. I mean, in a way, that's why today I was like, Shushumna, where the Kundalini energy flows, and I left it at like right there because I don't know much more about that. So I was like, maybe we get some Kundalini teacher on to one day, because I actually don't know enough about it.
Yeah, neither. So,
all right, let's get to the 6. We are almost up there. So we are at the 6th chakra. We are at the 3rd eye, Ajna chakra. So I think this is quite an important chakra in a way to be able to understand or kind of believe in chakra system. You have to have your 3rd eye open. You have to kind of be open to different ideas. So it's almost like opening a not physical eye you have, but an eye that's in between your eyebrows, and then it's already quite a lot to ask from some people. So this is a chakra of feeling connected to the other things that out there that you can't see or you can't explain. It's the color of indigo. The Bija mantra is we're getting to Om. So the last two chakra will be the sound of Om. And the element is light. So we had ether and now it's light, which you can always see, but again, you can't really touch. The shadow of this chakra is separation. And if you think about a balanced ajna or third eye chakra, you are someone who's intuitive. You manage to have spiritual life. You have physical and mental well-being. So it's not just you trust in your physical body, but you understand the spiritual world, or you try to be open to it. If you have this chakra overworking, you're almost like an intellectual. You know it all. You feel like you know everything, and you try to conceptualize your experience in life, like trying to explain things that over-explain things when you might not even know the things that you talk about, but you're just trying to be like, oh, I know this, and this is how it is, and this is my truth, and no one else is right. So you just kind of like know more than the others. Or if this chakra is underworking, you are almost like blind. We call people this, is you afraid to see the other things that you can't explain. People who are actually done lots of like PhDs and degrees and really book smart, and they do not reopen to this spiritual world, that's kind of like on the working third eye. They kind of like blind to this more knowledge that could make them smarter. And a very good example of this is when I did my teacher training, one of my best friends had a partner who's very smart. He was just about starting his PhD in Oxford, and then I was like, oh my God. I went home and was so excited to tell him like, oh, this is so amazing. And if you would be open to this world, you would know even more. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Sorry for swearing. He got really upset with me for talking about these things and calling him blind. He took it as really offensive. So he was so angry with me. And I was like, I just wanted to open a new world to you. So it was, in a way, it was very clear to me. I was like, oh, so these chakras are real, and he's actually acting out from his third eye is really, really, really closed. So he's not going to open to this. So yeah, it's interesting.
Did you say that to him? You're blind. You could be a bit more. You could be smart.
I didn't say you're blind.
I mean, no wonder he like got a bit defensive.
No,
like,
I didn't
so
say
much you don't even know.
So I didn't say that you're blind. I said like, there's a world out there you don't know about. It's so interesting. And if you would open your eyes to this, you would know even more. And it's just amazing. And he did not find that amazing. That I did not call him blind though. It was like blind to the world, blind to a new world that you don't see. Yeah, I can understand.
But I think that has to do with like, you know, if yoga works on people or not. Like sometimes it just doesn't work on people because they're not willing to be open-minded, that there's like more that we don't understand, and they're just like very theoretical and like, well, if it hasn't been proven, I don't believe it. And like I used to be like that, you know. I come from a science background. I didn't believe in any religions, like quite atheist. I'm like, well, unless it's written in a paper, I don't believe it. And I'm like, that looking back, that's so unbelievably close-minded, because science is not there yet. We don't know. There's like we don't know what consciousness is. So like obviously if I don't believe that there's something that we don't know and believe that it exists, then I've closed my third eye. I've closed myself off to the possibility that there is more. And of course there's more.
Yeah.
There's so much we don't know. Humans don't know everything. We have to have a level of like belief, and like whatever that might be to specific people. Like for me, it's yoga philosophy, energy is like being open to consciousness being shared throughout the universe, and like understanding that we're connected to each other and we're not individuals. living our own lives, but we have to be connected to feel fulfilled and to feel safe and feel like we're free to express ourselves. So for me, this is like also connection. Yeah, the intuition, the ability to tap into your like instincts.
Your gut instinct and your like sixth sense.
If you don't listen to your gut instincts, which are in your gut, and you're listening to your mind, and you're giving your mind preference over your gut, then that's where you're living from. You're living from the mind, but you're not instinctual.
Yeah.
And you can't tap into those more subtle energies that are out there because you've closed yourself off. And, you know, it's very interesting, even from the science perspective, like there's a huge area of research, like the gut-brain axis and your gut perceiving your outside world, because like your mouth is open and you eat and drink water, and it is guiding you through the world because it's a huge surface, just like your skin, that's able to perceive your environment. And our mind can't rationalize everything that we see. Like if we have to jump out of the way of like a car coming and it's going to hit us, we can't wait for our mind to be like, oh, I see a car, oh, I'm going to jump out of the way. It has to happen like that, and that's your instinct reaction. So yeah, I like to think about it like that too.
No, it makes sense, definitely.
So it's colors indigo, like purpley, and the seed sound is Om. Like we chant at the beginning of class because we're trying to get to these higher consciousness levels. The guna is sattva, the point that yogis put their mental direction towards. What else?
And if you think about affirmations, you can repeat like, I see clearly, I am connected, and I am aware and awake.
I just had it in my head. Oh, the gland it's associated with is the pineal gland. So pineal gland is in the middle of your brain. It's a small gland, and melatonin is released from there. So that's like a big antioxidant in your body that has to do with healing and repair overnight, and your connection to the outside world through your circadian rhythm cycle, your sleep-wake cycle.
Yeah, no. Makes sense. And then we are getting to our last seventh chakra.
You want me to say it? Like I'm waiting for you. Okay, the seventh chakra is right at the top of the head, so at the very top of the head. Sahasrara. Yeah.
Sahasrara. Now we both.
I'm overthinking it. Sahasrara. I
would say Sahasrara, but again, I might be wrong. But I think non-English speakers are more in tune of. I wanted to say it too quickly. Sanskrit and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's easier for us to say. So, but I might be still wrong. So we should ask someone who can say it. So Sahasrara is at the crown of the head.
Yeah, it has to do with consciousness, thought, understanding, self-knowledge. The shadow has to do with attachment, being overly attached to things, and the color is violet. There's no seed sound, but you can say one long Om as the seed sound in meditation. The glands it's connected to is the pituitary gland. So pituitary gland exhibits master control over your whole body, initiating the release of all sorts of different hormones that act all over the rest of your body. So it's like the master control kind of center in the body, the pituitary gland.
If the chakra is balanced, you are the person who's wise, who is connected to their spirituality, who has a great level of understanding of everything and open to all, not just science. or just spirituality. Just so it's someone who's open to all. And if the chakra is overworking, you're a narcissist. You're someone who's vain, someone who's ungrateful. You think you know everything and you are ignorant of others and the universe's help. So it's just, someone who's a bit narcissistic. And if the chakra is underworking, so it's kind of closed, you're an atheist. Or that's what the archetype is, an atheist, is you're not believing in anything. You doesn't like to receive help, and you don't believe in any ideas or concepts of something that you is out of grasp, or so this is more of your connection to the universe. It is sometimes when I get to the seventh chakra, I think about our Ashtanga 8 system of someone thinking like, oh, you can't be enlightened, but what is the concept of enlightenment to you? I think it's the same as what is the concept of being connected to the universe for you. So that's the chakra is all about. That's something that it can be very personal, so you don't have to overthink it.
It's consciousness. You are consciousness. The universe is consciousness. You are part of consciousness. You are connected to the universe and to nature. You are not separate from nature. And I think when there's malfunction in this chakra, you can feel quite depressed, because when you're feeling separated from nature, from others, from a sense of purpose, you feel depressed, you feel disconnected. And when you work on this chakra and all the other chakras too, it helps you to find a sense of connection to the earth, to yourself, to others, and to something higher than you. And then you feel a deeper sense of self-love, self-worth, connection, and purpose.
Yeah, that's true. And if we think about the whole chakra system, whether you resonated with, maybe Ashley talked about the glands or anything in the physical body, or maybe you connected to something I talked about, archetypes of, like being a hoarder. Like for me, I remember kind of like a light popped up in my head when we were talking about Muladhara chakra, and then talking about hoarding things and not feeling you have enough, so you have to not take more, but kind of like hide things and put it in your attic. And I was like, oh my god, my whole family is like that. We always felt like we don't have enough, so we have to save this paper bag because we don't know if it's going to be useful, save this. So, and then that was like, this is something my family needs to work on. So that's how the whole thing opened my mind. So whatever you have resonated with throughout this podcast, whether it's physical, spiritual, archetypes, colors, I hope you can take away something to work on, or maybe research more. I mean, there are a lot of great books. I like Anodea Judith's Eastern Body, Western Mind, or Western Body, Eastern Mind. I'm always confused which one. And I think Ashley has a book for herself that she likes as well.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing it, but it's also Anodea Judith, and it's called Wheels of Life.
She's great.
It's so interesting. I always turn back to it as a teacher and come back to, self-reflection on myself too. It's a guide to the chakra system. She's amazing. If you want to look at her website, she has courses on chakras that do deeper dives into it, and like how you can work on healing and with yoga, even through nutrition. There's different types of food that you can eat to stimulate or balance each chakra. Yeah, it's such a vast topic. We've just scratched the surface and made you aware that it exists.
Definitely, because that's why we started with that it is something that's going to be like a little sprinkle of thought, or to open your mind to it. And going back to Anodea Judith, why we both have actually was told a book about from her, because the book Eastern Body, Western Mind is more have examples of situation in chakras, because I think she works with people, because I think she is a psychologist as well, so she works with people, so she obviously with consent she shared examples, and then for me it makes it much easier to understand, and then you can relate it back to your life. And there are actually therapists who work with chakra system, and the teachers we work with on my yin teacher training were therapists who work through chakra systems, and I found it so useful when the group has shared their experience or their lived experience. I'm like, oh, I understand it in more depth. So it's definitely something you can learn more about.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ashley, for sharing this with us.
Yeah, thank you too.
See you soon, guys, or talk to you soon.